Kind of boring. Alright, so here we have the Nembrini Audio Quinta Pitch Machine, or Quinta Pitch Machine. Now this is based on the T-Rex Quint pedal. What it allows you to do is add in a octave down, so minus 1 octave, up a fifth, or up an octave. And these are volume knobs, so just dial in the amount of each that you want. Use 1, use 2, use all 3, whatever you want, and then mix in the overall amount. So all the way down, of course, it's just your dry guitar. All the way up, you're going to completely replace the sound of your guitar. All right, the sound of the dry guitar. So in general, somewhere between 30 and 50 is a good place to start. And then you have your high Q, or high quality. In general, you're going to have that turned off whenever you're playing things in live because it's lower latency, but it's going to be a better algorithm, better pitch algorithm on the high quality. So turn it on high quality whenever it comes time to mix or time to bounce out what you record in. Of course, right here is your bypass right there, and you can change the size of the interface right there, and you have some presets right up here. All right, so that's basically the entire interface. Now we'll go over it here just to sort of get an understanding of what all of this stuff does. Then we'll check out some more samples. So let's start off easy with just the fifth. I'm going to dial that up around halfway for the volume. Minus octave, plus octave, or all the way down, and then about 45%, 48%. For the mix, we can also, by the way, you can use your mouse scroll wheel to adjust these things here. So the pedal is off right now. And by the way, we also have the Nembrini Audio 8180 amp that we're using right now. And of course, the pedal is in front of the amp in our inserts for our plugins. So just as an example, so you can sort of understand what this does, let's just play an E string. Now this is a 9-string guitar, but this string here is tuned to just, your standard E. So I wanted to play a fifth on that. Of course, would have to add the fifth here. Or I can turn on our pitch machine pedal here, pull in that fifth, and now I can play that same exact sequence using just that E string. It's going to add in that fifth for me. As you can see, just one finger there. And that's exactly the same sound. What about our octave up? Let's pull that one up. Around halfway is pretty good. Turn it off for now. So say we're playing a scale, a lead, something like that. And we wanted to harmonize that. So of course you'd have to go back and play in the octave higher, right? Or we can of course just harmonize that right here with our octave on our Quinta Pitch Machine. Or whatever you want to play. And the same thing for the lower octave. We'll pull that one up. Maybe we're up higher here. Of course, I can harmonize that at a lower, lower fingering there. Or just blend in our pedal there. Of course, plenty of other stuff that you can do. So for example, I have another E down here, an octave lower than our standard E. Of course, if you don't have an 8 or 9 string guitar, you're not going to be able to get that djenty sort of sound, unless of course you use this pedal. We'll pull in the mix about all the way up and just play on our standard E string. Of course, blend in the amount you want. Sometimes it sounds kind of cool if you don't blend it all the way in, but you can go all the way up if you want. And of course, we can blend all of these in together. So let's do that. We'll pull up our fifth here, our top octave a bit, our low octave just a bit, blend all of that in together. And now you're going to have a really cool sound, really complex sound that we're able to play with, just a couple of strings. So of course, in order to actually play that, playing our E string on the 2nd fret, I'd have to go down an octave here since I have the actual strings, right? Then I'd have to actually go up an octave with another finger and then up a 5th with another finger. And of course, there's no way I can do that. But here with the pedal, super easy to just blend in the sounds that you want. Of course, you can do it with, clean sounds as well. So that is the basics of your Nembrini Audio Quinta pitch machine, adding in that lower octave, an upper octave, or a 5th, of course, blending them in. It's really cool to maybe just add in, just a lower octave and your upper octave, or maybe just add in some 5th, or of course, blend everything in together. It makes it easy to play really complex sequences with 1 string or 2 strings instead of playing 3 or 4 or 5 different strings, or of course, use it for some really cool affected guitar sound. So this also, by the way, works on other sources like vocals, for example. It can sound really cool on vocals. Let's head into the DAW and check out some more samples. All right, so let's go ahead and check this out on some more samples. And we're going to do it on vocals. Yes, this is made for guitar, but of course you can use it on other sources as well. Let's check it on this vocal. It can actually sound pretty good, especially if you're into, say, chiptune or future bass style vocals.
Lonely in the mornings when you're gone.
All right, let's go ahead and pull this in. We're going to start with just the 5th.
Lonely in the mornings
So we have a nice 5th harmony.
When you're
Sounds pretty cool. Of course, we can add in that upper octave. And this is going to be a bit more chipmunk sounding, so it really works well for things like future bass.
Lonely in the mornings when you're gone.
Throw in that lower octave.
Happy in the evenings when we get
Of course, we can start mixing this in even more if you really want to get that future bass style of vocals here.
I just want you with me all the time.
So if you were to cut up your vocals as you would in future bass, throw this on there mixed, at around 100%, and mess around with your 5th and your octave. Again, specifically for future bass. Of course, you can add in your lower octave there if you want, but you can really get that future bass sound on your vocals really easily like this here.
You thought that you would use me, but love is so confusing. What if you didn't even try to pick me up? You thought I wouldn't leave. How could you be so naive? You just your heart ignored the signs painted above.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on now back to some samples of guitar. And here we have a clean sample. In this case, we're using the Nembrini Audio Cali Reverb amp. So it's bypassed right now. All right, sounds pretty good. Let's go ahead and make this a little more interesting with our Quinta pitch machine, or Quinta if you prefer to call it that. Now we're just throwing in some of that lower octave and the upper octave, not using the 5th in this case, mixed in at around 30%. Of course, mess around with your overall levels, your blend here. Sounds pretty cool. Let's go ahead and move on to another sample here. Now we have their Soldano, or the BST 100 V2 Super Overdrive. Our pitch machine is bypassed right now. All right, so this time we're going to throw in some lower octave, some 5th, and that upper octave. That lower octave really fills out that bottom end for us. Of course, replace it completely if you want. So that's more of a rhythm part. Of course, you can use it on rhythms, Use it on leads, use it on whatever you want. Check it out here. On another sample, we have the 8180 again, just like we had at the beginning here. It's bypassed right now. Very simple, basically just one string, a couple of frets, right? Let's make this way more interesting now. So of course we have the lower octave, the fifth, and the upper octave on that. Check out one more sample here. Again, very simple. Just a couple of frets, one string, a couple of frets, right? Make that much more interesting here. Fills everything out. Very cool. So this is using the Nembrini Marshall amp right here. We'll bypass our pitch machine for now. Kind of a cool sound, cool lick here. All right, let's bring in our pitch machine now. Again, we have some lower octaves, some fifth, upper octave, and we're not really pulling in that much on the overall mix, just around 23%. It really works there on that turnaround part. Move on to the other sample here. All right, sounds cool, sounds fine on its own, but again, give it some lower octave, some fifth, and some upper octave here. Mix it in around, 30% or so. Move on to another clean sample here. And we're going to use the BST 100 V2. The pitch machine is bypassed right now. So a clean sound. Now in this case, we're just going to add in some of that lower octave. It gets a little too messy in this case if we put some fifth or upper octave in there. We don't really need those. So we're just going to use the lower octave, and it can sound pretty cool, even just using, one of these. And mix it in around 30%. Just fill in that lower end there. Already sounds much better. Now this sample could actually benefit from, say, some chorus. So let's go ahead and pop that on, and some delay. And both of these are free, by the way, from Nembrini. So now bring it all together. So don't really need a fifth in there. Moving on to another clean sample here. We're going to use the Marshall amp again. Make sure this is bypassed for now. All right, sounds cool. We can make that sound even better with our pitch machine here. A little bit of the lower octave, some fifth, not very much on the fifth, and some of the upper octave. Again, the levels of these aren't really that high, and we're not even mixing it in. Just maybe 30% or so. Move on to a crunch sample now. Make sure we bypass the pitch machine. Going to use the Cali Dual, like a dual rec here. Kind of a crunchy sound. All right. Now in this case, we're going to throw in some of that lower octave and just a bit of the upper octave on our pitch machine here. So you don't have to go crazy with, with your levels here or even your mix. Mix it in a little bit, mix it in all the way to completely replace, for some more crazy and weird sounds. Now let's go ahead and try it on something more experimental here. Now we have some strings. Let's go and hear those with this bypassed. All right. Go ahead and bring in our pitch machine now. Some lower octave, some fifth, and some upper octave mixed in around, again, 30% or so. It's more expansive now. Again, bypass that. Throw it back in. So in general, you wouldn't be using this on strings. It's really made for guitar. I'm just showing you that you can, of course, use this for other things as well. Going to continue on with using it on other, other styles of sources here. So now we have sort of a weird glitchy dubstep style synth. Right, pretty cool if you're into that anyway. Let's throw our pitch machine on there to add a really cool effect to this. No, I think that's cool. I understand some people hate that style of music. That's completely fine, but it's pretty cool that you can really add in some lower octave to that, some fifth and some upper octave, and get a completely different sound. Move on now to our last sample here. Have a chorus on this right now. This is a choir, by the way. All right, sounds pretty cool, but again, let's add in some lower octave, some fifth, and a bit of an upper octave mixed in at around 35%. Fills everything out. Makes it sound a bit more pad-like. All right, so that is your Nembrini audio Quinta pitch machine. Quinta, of course, in Spanish meaning fifth. But of course you can call it Quinta because it's based on the Quint, the T-Rex Quint pedal. Now, if you want to pick this up for yourself, head right over here to nembriniaudio.com. Of course, we'll have the link in the description below. Check it out, download it, check out the free trial. Now, you should also understand that all of the Nembrini audio plugins are authorized with iLok. I know some people don't like iLok, but you can authorize your computer. You don't need the actual key, so you can authorize your computer with the iLok license for the Nembrini plugins. Although it's a good idea to go ahead and pick up a key if you're serious about audio production. You really are going to need an iLok at some point, but that's a completely different discussion. You don't actually need the key or the dongle to authorize this plugin. Okay, just authorize it right to your machine if you don't have an actual iLok. All right, so that is the Nembrini Audio Quinta Pitch Machine.